today we're going to be tasting Johnnie Walker Blue Label. Now this is a creation that came about in 1991, and the object was to create a whiskey, a blended whiskey that represented a throwback to the days of blended whiskey in the 19th century. A unique taste that would be brought back to life. So with that in mind, the master blender at Johnnie Walker, a gentleman called Jim Beveridge with a career in blending, visited the warehouses that we have and chose individual casks that had their own DNA. The hardest job that he had was to bring these together, blend these together to create a flavor that was different to everything else that we'd released on the market. So when Blue Label came out in 1991, initially, the whiskies in here were between 20 and 50 years of age. But they're just numbers. And it's not really about numbers, it's about taste. Is this whiskey, is this liquid able to project a flavor that you've not been able to appreciate before? And it does. So I think without further ado, I should give you an opportunity to taste with me a little drop of what Scotland does extremely well, Scotch whisky. Now, when it comes to appreciating whiskey, everybody has their own opinion. So let's cut to the chase. You've got many different ways on being able to appreciate something as old and rare as Blue Label. But initially, you've got to prepare the palate. I don't know what you've been tasting, eating, or drinking earlier today, so I'm going to ask you to pop that little glass down for a second and pick up the ice water and just take a couple of sips of the water so it really cleans the palate, so that by the time, in a couple of moments, you get an opportunity to taste this liquid, your palate will be reciprocal and able to get all the flavors which will be enhanced. So now we come to Blue. And the first suggestion that I make to you is when you're appreciating a whiskey like this, which has been sitting in the barrel for decades and finally gets an opportunity to come alive, is to appreciate the nose. When I first started appreciating whiskey, I treated it almost like a good film or a good play or a good book, which means there's a beginning and a middle and an end. And in whiskey terms, that means there's a nose, there's a mouthfeel, and there's a finish. So to be able to get this truly top-notch blended whiskey, we're going to nose it together, we're going to taste it together, allow the mouthfeel to take over. So you get the texture, you get the weight, and you get the flavors of Blue Label. Should we do that? It would be rude not to, wouldn't it? So before you start, let's have a little nose. And effectively, I think the best thing that I've found out in the last sort of few years is that when it comes to smelling a good Scotch, often there's something there that passes from your olfactory passage to your brain that reminds you of something often from your childhood, something that's been sitting there derelict for maybe 20, 30, 40, in my case, 50, 60 years. And all of a sudden the aroma comes to life and brings you back to that moment. It's a truly magical moment. So when I smell Blue Label, this is a very, what I call, closed nose that takes time to open up. But on here, I'm getting little small hints of honey and rich fruit. And when people ask me what is the difference between a blend and a single malt on its own has an individual character, its own DNA. A blended whiskey, such as Blue Label here, is a mixture of single malts and grain whiskies, so they are all contributing, not necessarily at the same time, but at different times during your drinking experience. Does that make sense? So let's just go back and nose it again. So the best thing about this particular nose is, to me, there's no alcohol, there's no prickle. You're getting straight into the aroma, and I'm getting soft fruits with a little honey tinge. So are you ready to taste? Should we give this a try? So the one request I make here, because now you've opened up the book and you're going to be looking at the chapters, and the chapters will come in how you taste this whiskey. And I'm going to ask you to give this round about 10 seconds in your mouth, round about 10 seconds. So you let it ping around your palate and dance on your tongue and allow the whiskey to express itself to you. Should we do that? Slanja. So the best thing what's happening to you now is that this whiskey, you've actually asked it for its flavour, and the whiskey said, you want me, come and get me. And now you have the full DNA in your mouth. I can see it in your eyes. Your eyes are watering. It's your Meg Ryan moment right now. And the good news is you've still got 2/3 in the glass. So the major factor to get out of Blue Label, for those people who may be saying it's just a luxury whiskey at a luxury price, no, you got to give this time. You've got to give this liquid time to express itself. And because if you do that, like what's just happened to you, you have now got a big, huge aftertaste where the oak, the dryness, there's even a little wisp of smoke in the background there. It's still with you. So by giving 10 seconds to this wonderful creation by Jim Beveridge, you're able to get at least 2 to 3 to 4 minutes aftertaste. So you've had the beginning with the nose, you've had the mouthfeel for the middle, which has created the finish. And the best thing about it is you can do it all again because you've got enough in your glass. And the same thing would apply as we did the first time. When you attack this whiskey for the second time, have a little glass of iced water, clean the palate, and you will find that this luxurious blend created by our master blender is truly an expression that I'm happy to be able to offer to you today.